Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Lakers Theory Podcast. I am Shane Jackson. Joined with me, as always, is Austin Case. We're recording this Monday, January 25th, right after a Lakers win over the Cavs. It was the final score of 115 to 108. And the main takeaway tonight, and what we're going to start with on this podcast, is that we should not take LeBron James for granted. Tonight was special. One of the nights for the ages for LeBron James. Doing it at 36 years old, might I add, as we always have to add with LeBron James. But he scored 46 points. It was the most by a Laker of his age since Kobe Bryant's final game as a Laker when he scored 60. Just incredible stuff, Austin. How special was tonight watching that game?
It was wild. Like, I don't know where they were. It was right there at the end of the fourth quarter, and they just showed the stat line. He had 44, and I was just like, "Wait, what? Like, when the heck did he get 44 points in this game?"
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was wild. It was a really good game for the most part, and it was just I was shocked to see just how much he dominated this game.
So go back to our first podcast and when we introduced this Lakers Theory podcast and what we wanted it to be. And I said from the jump that I don't actually care how many people listen to the show. I think for me, it was, a chance to talk to you, obviously, on a regular basis about the Lakers, but also to enjoy the last few years of LeBron James being LeBron James. And I think really two of the last three games are an indication of that. LeBron has been incredibly special as of late. And I think it's just perfect that we're recording this now after a game that I honestly, it's hard to put into words what he did tonight. It was like, I know he's been doing this kind of stuff his entire career and he's a special player, but year 18, 36 years old, all that stuff, like it's just insane what he was able to do. So that goaltending, let's start there. How does he get that high up there? I tweeted about that from our Twitter account at Lakers Theory, by the way. But how does he get that high at 36 years old? I'm not gonna be able to get off the couch without help. Like I don't understand it.
Like we saw Marcus saw nobody between him and the basket. And he had to take two steps maybe, and his feet didn't even leave the ground. So LeBron can jump 13 feet into the air to block a shot. That I don't know. That I was really shocked when they didn't overturn that goal.
Yeah,
that's another story. But yeah, his hops, like it's crazy.
It's a random game in January. I mean, I know it was in Cleveland. The first time he was in Cleveland since 2018. So maybe there was an extra motivation, but there weren't. I mean, they were what, socially distant? Were there socially distanced fans? I don't actually remember. I thought they mentioned it on the broadcast, but anyways, it's not like this place was packed. It's not like they did a tribute to him. Like it was just in all intents and purposes a normal game, and he just went out and did that. And I think, part of it is just shooting. Like, he's not going to be able to obviously do that again. But it was just crazy. And, yes, it speaks to maybe a larger trend that he's done this year. And we can talk about his three-point shooting has been pretty good this year, pretty impressive. But I think in a night full of incredible plays, which there were like 7 by LeBron, I think I wanted to start with, what was your favorite LeBron play tonight? Because, this podcast is going to be a lot about LeBron. No, spoiler, but we will talk about the other games and other players as well. But what was your favorite play from LeBron against the Cavs?
It may have been the last points he scored. I don't know, but it was the super long turnaround fade shot that from the corner. Like that was just after his 3, and like I saw that play, and I just like got up and was just like nonchalantly bouncing off the walls and stuff in my room, and like it was just wild. It summed up the night that he had. Really, it was incredible.
Yeah, I think that's the play, obviously, that would be my favorite as well. It was the play that got me running around my basement for a random regular season game. But I did want to mention, moments earlier, the logo three-pointer that he had, which was one of the rare, acceptable logo three-pointers, right? Because it was late in the shot clock, and it was literally the only shot they could take, and he drains it. from the logo. And I think at that point I just freaked out. And my girlfriend was sitting next to me, not watching the game because I'm watching it on my laptop. She thought I was having like a heart attack or something. Didn't understand why I freaked out the way I did. And it just – so this happens one day after Tom Brady goes to the Super Bowl with the Bucs, right? And it's easy to obviously make the parallels between the two. I mean, what he's doing in the NFL at his age is insane. The fact that he's been to so many Super Bowls is insane. And I think we should appreciate both of them, but especially LeBron in this case, since this is a Lakers podcast. Like, this isn't normal. I think I saw someone tweet out a stat after this game, but LeBron is already, in terms of age 36 seasons, he's averaging 25-ish points per game, which would be second, in the history of the NBA, like for the highest points scored or averaged in a season for age 36 player. Like, what he's doing is stupid good and unexplainable, similar to Tom Brady. And I think it will be appreciated, obviously, especially if they end up winning a title. But on random nights like this, I don't think there's enough people that can talk about what he just did. It was just, It was incredible. I guess let's talk about this in a broader sense, though, because honestly, before this game even happened, I sent you an outline. We haven't recorded it, by the way, in the last few games. It's a busy time for me. This is about the heat of high school basketball tournament season, and so I am constantly busy. This is actually the only night I don't have a game to cover, and so we will obviously still record at least once a week, but that is why we haven't recorded in a few games. There's been 3 games since we last recorded. All 3 wins by the Lakers, by the way. They beat the Bucks. I do not have a final score on me. Do you have it on me? Here it is. 113-106 win over the Bucks. And then it was 101-90 against the Bulls. And then, again, tonight, 115-108 against the Cavs. So before this game, I sent you an outline. I said, hey, let's talk about LeBron as an MVP candidate, because we kind of briefly mentioned in the last show, and we weren't as prepared because it was just kind of random. We decided to mention it. I wanted to turn this conversation into when is it acceptable to actually believe that LeBron has a real shot at the MVP? Because, obviously we know he didn't get it last year. I never even entertained the idea that he would be MVP this year. At what point can I talk myself into believing that LeBron can be the
MVP? Honestly, I feel like he should be in the MVP talk every year. Like just in general, like if he's not in the MVP talk, then there's something wrong. But I don't understand why we can't talk about it now. Like, maybe it's just us being biased, but he's 36 years old. He just scored 46 points. He's the best player in basketball at 36 years old. I think it's fair to talk about it whenever you want to.
That's fair. I wanted to run through the odds real quick. The latest odds I saw from Action Network, plus 450, Luka is still the favorite. And then we had a Giannis, KD, LeBron tie for second, basically, at 6-1 odds. And then Jokic, Embiid, and Steph are at 10-1 odds. I think so. I quote tweeted Bobby Marks from ESPN. He's basically saying that we're going to entertain all these other names that I just mentioned as MVP candidates. At the end of the day, 36-year-old LeBron is still the best player in the league, and that should be enough, right? Yeah. And it is enough. I have actually accepted that I thought he wasn't going to win the MVP. We are 18 games in the season, but there was this talk from us as well, but everybody that was following the Lakers or covering the Lakers, that both AD and LeBron would rest, right? And there would be times on back-to-backs where they would take their breathers. And LeBron is playing less minutes than he ever has per game, but he's efficient still. But he's not sitting out. Like, you look at all these other MVP candidates, Embiid, KD, they're actually not playing. Like, there's a couple games they've sat out this year already. LeBron's not. And AD actually is the only one of the two who's sitting out. So how much should that matter? I don't know. At some point, obviously LeBron is going to rest, but how much should that matter?
I don't know, man. If guys want to rest, I don't see why it's a big deal. It's not going to change what they do when they're on the floor at all. If they're resting, they probably need it. which doesn't it doesn't say LeBron doesn't need rest because he's probably just as gassed as the rest of them. But he wants to win. Like I think even LeBron joked about not really playing until February, and here they are. Here he is popping out 46 points tonight, and 4 or 5 days ago he put up 35 or 36. It's special. It's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't mean it as in I'm not here to say they shouldn't rest. I wasn't trying to say that. I just meant in when we're comparing the MVP candidates, like how much does it matter? Like should LeBron get the benefit of the doubt right now because he is not resting compared to the other guys? I'm actually surprised Luka is still the betting favorite. I think it's more they're waiting preseason expectations there, but like Mavs are underperforming. The Nuggets, Jokic would be in the conversation probably higher, but the Nuggets are underperforming, right? KD and obviously Embiid are very much in it. But when you're comparing, LeBron, the fact that he doesn't rest, I feel like that should matter a little bit. Again, I probably wouldn't bet money on it. Actually, if you want to make me bet, it might be like Embiid. I might go with JoJo there. I don't know if I would put money down on LeBron because. I mean, what he's doing is insane. The 3-point stats is stupid good. I wrote it down. He's shooting a career best 41.2% from long range, and he's averaging 6.6 attempts per game. I just feel like that's not going to continue, but that's just me. And so I don't know. I guess I'm not talking myself into it, but if we get another 10 games down the road and LeBron's still doing this, I might start thinking, hey, MVP number 5 is on his way, like that. And eventually ring number 5.
Well, I think I saw a stat before tonight's game that the Lakers are 25% down with their season. So a quarter away through your season, it's fair to be talking MVP and just that caliber of stuff. But I don't know. There's still a lot of season left, but the way he's playing with how old he is, I don't see how you can not acknowledge it in any sort.
And it's narrative based, and MVP, in general is narrative based, and LeBron made a big fuss about it last year. And so maybe the voters will remember, hey, he had his last laugh by the end, he was holding the finals MVP trophy and the, finals trophy and saying, I want my respect. And so maybe he will get his respect this year. A couple of last stupid LeBron stats from tonight. In the fourth quarter alone, LeBron scored 21 points. The Cleveland Cavaliers as a team scored 19. LeBron shot – outside of LeBron, the Lakers shot 37% from the floor tonight. Did not shoot well outside of LeBron. He really carried the load for the Lakers tonight, which, credits the way he was shooting. The Lakers really just got out of the way to let him do this thing by the end of the night. Any other things you want to mention about this Cavs game in general?
I was really impressed. I really don't know that much about them just because, why would I? But I don't know, man. They're a scrappy group, and they're good. That's a good squad to have over there. But I personally was never in doubt of this game that the Lakers would lose. But I don't know. They were just coming off a night getting torched by the Celtics, so I feel like they were going to come out and really try, especially against the defending champs and stuff. But I don't know. I feel like they got a lot to look forward to in Cleveland, honestly.
I was wondering if you were going to have the take, but I feel like the sentiment again after tonight is, hey, the Lakers kind of didn't play their best basketball and they still managed to win, but this is annoying, blah, blah, blah. And I just wanted to I thought that's what you were going to bring up, and I just was going to say, hey, I'm annoyed at this. Like, this is the narrative already. Because I just thought in general, like, first of all, that's how basketball works. Like, the Lakers were up 14. You obviously knew the Cavs were going to go on a run at some point. But I thought the Cavs just were an interesting matchup because there's not really many teams that can throw that many bigs at you like the Cavs can. And you can tell that it affected the way the Lakers, chose to attack offensively. It deterred them from the rim. You saw AD more stretched out on the perimeter and just settling for outside shots more than shots at the rim, which comes a couple nights after AD just bullied the Bulls in the lane. So I think it was somewhat expected given the Cavs style of play, but I think that was important to mention is that it wasn't just, hey, this was Lakers not playing great, which they didn't play great by any means. They didn't play their ceiling game by any means, but it was also, hey, the Cavs are a unique matchup, and I think that played a part into how it felt. It felt like a physical game. The Lakers, just in general, are they're a lot of teams are sending players back, in transition to stop them in transition. But the Cavs were, trying to attack the glass. So it was just a different style than the Lakers were used to.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, I kind of did notice that, like, Gasol just wasn't really athletic enough to match up with Drummond. And, Drummond just kind of bullied all night. Just everybody. He just bullied everybody. And, maybe that's something to keep an eye on, once we get deeper into the season and playoffs and stuff. Because if they do have an athletic big that can really just bully anybody, then that could be a problem. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But like Gasol was kind of a non-factor there. He picked up 3 fouls.
3 fouls in 3 minutes. It was the most efficient basketball stat line I've ever seen in my life.
But yeah, really quickly he became a non-factor in the game, and they kind of had to scramble what to do defensively.
And I thought Trez played really well. He had a plus 18 off the bench and 26 minutes, and I thought he brought a lot of energy. And I actually, I think that was probably in a matchup that he should have thrived in, and I think you saw that. So I don't know. I'm not as concerned in the, as you were alluding to just a little bit there, against an athletic big man, but maybe it is worth mentioning. I just thought in general, like there's not many teams that can throw as many big bodies as the Cavs have at everybody. Like it was just they are front court heavy. So. Caruso came up with a big steal late in the game and hit a 3 late in the game, but that was his only shot he made, right?
Yep. Yeah, 1 for 6 overall, and then 1 for 3 from deep. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to make sure we covered all our bases for the Cavs game. It was the LeBron show, so that's what I knew we were going to spend a lot of time on LeBron, and rightfully so. He deserved it. Let's get into the other games. Let's start with the Bucks game. And I think this is where the narrative really started for the whole, the Lakers played probably their B game against the Bucks, right? And they won. That was 113-106. LeBron hit the dagger 3 at the end. And it felt like, it was a big game, but it didn't feel like anybody cared that it was a big game. And it wasn't the cleanest performance. And I think that's where the whole narrative started, right? That seemed to be what everybody believed. It's like Lakers didn't play anywhere close to their ceiling, and they still managed to win. And so this is the new norm for the Lakers, right? We expect perfection, but we're not going to get it. They're still stupid good.
That was the Bucks game. Yeah, it was a good game. I'm trying to remember some of it. I feel like once it happens, it's gone. Like, no, like LeBron really dominated that game. I feel like, and then it kind of came down to there at the end. They were trading blows essentially, and LeBron was just able to kind of seal the game, which, I guess that's just what we're going to get most of the time if it's a close game like that. But MVP talk wise, like I feel like for LeBron, you could say that's kind of where it really kicked off. Which
really started,
was like 4 or 5 days ago. So, but I don't have too much on the Bucks game just because it was 4 or 5 days ago. But
I just wanted to talk about that idea in general. Like we are now, what, 18 games in the season? You said 25% of the season. I don't think it's realistic to expect this team to play their best basketball. And so I don't want to always go, I want more, because I think that is like the worst type of fan in the world, right? Like, there is no way we should be expecting them to go all out and play to their ceiling, no matter who they're playing against, But, we can kind of combine this with the Bulls discussion. We did see like closer to their ceiling game. They were locked in defensively against the Bulls. 80, a guy who had struggled up until that Bulls game. I mean, like really struggled. I thought I was getting pretty heated with 80 personally. I don't know how you were feeling, but it was like, a couple weeks ago he called out the team defensively, and then he sat out the Bulls game the next night, and I was just like, this is bullshit. And so I just felt like he hadn't played well, and we had mentioned that, hey, he's a real MVP candidate. Now, don't get me wrong, he's still very much locked in defensively all the time. I mean, he's the best defensive player probably in the NBA still this year. And but I just felt like he hadn't played anywhere close to his best, and he just completely dominated the Bulls. Like that was so that was a lot closer to what we expect the Lakers to be. Because they were locked in defensively, and because the guy that we thought was going to be the best player on this team was at his best. And I think it's all worth mentioning in the context that, yes, we're 18 games in the season, 25% of the season. Like, this is a grind. Like, let's get closer to the end of the season before we want to reach the full potential, right? And so that's the whole question I have here is how much do you factor into that when you're watching that Bucks game? And I guess vice versa the Bulls.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like the Lakers really spoiled us there because we get bits and pieces of them just like playing exponentially better than what we could imagine, and so we expect that every time they come out, and like when it's just not there and it's really obvious, we're kind of disappointed. Even if they win, we're still like, they played really terribly, but they still got the win. I feel like the Lakers just flex every once in a while just to remind people, hey, like we're the champs, and it's we still have these capabilities, and then they just take nights off and they just flex on people whenever they want to. I feel like that's what we're getting here and there, but I don't think it's too big of a deal. I try to like realize that myself when I'm like upset if they lost, like against the Warriors. Like I feel like they gave that game away, but I try to calm myself, like, hey, we're not even 20 games into the season. Like these games matter, but in a season long, kind of when your aspirations are a championship, it's probably not that big of a deal.
And it's important to mention the Lakers are 10-0 on the road after tonight's win over the Cavs. The next best record of any team on the road is the Jazz at 7-2. They're the best record in the NBA still, I believe. I always have to check the NBA standings, but I think they're the best record in the NBA. Like, it's all worth mentioning in that point of view as well. Like, even if we've been frustrated, and we have multiple times voiced our frustration on this podcast, I think it's because we're not that far removed from a championship, and we just in our minds think, okay, this is how basketball is supposed to be all the time. But for me, as long as we see every now and then what we saw, especially in that first half against the Bulls, and you don't have to be up 30 points on a team, but as long as you see a team locked in defensively, you see AD playing well, and even LeBron, playing well as he always does. Like, as long as you see and the role players buying in, as long as you see something of that, over the course of like a half of, a 4 or 5 game stretch, I'm fine with frustrating losses. And I know I'm going to come back to regret saying that, the next loss that we have to record a podcast after it, I'm going to be so upset with the team, and I'm going to be like, I don't understand how you can keep doing this. But as long as you see a glimpse of their potential every now and then, and a team that's working in the direction of hitting closer to their ceiling towards the postseason, I'm fine with everything else. The rest of it's just noise to me. So I forgot to mention at the top that you got something worth mentioning in this podcast. So let's take a minute to point that out before we wrap this podcast up. Austin, show us what your present from your wife was.
So my wife, for my birthday this year, she got me 27 gifts since I've turned 27.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it was just small things here and there. I got a shitload of candy.
Yeah.
And then it kind of gradually got better. And so this was my final gift.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, first of all, people could be listening on an audio platform.
Oh,
so
that's true.
Explain what it is.
Well, okay, so for the people not watching the video, she got me a replica version of the championship ring.
Mm-hmm.
And it's baller. Like, it is super awesome. Like, I love it. And I already told her, like, I was replacing my wedding ring with this. So it's just like, she told me not to wear it on my wedding finger. And my response was, I'm married to the game. So I feel like I have to wear this now. So, but yes, it's awesome like that. Like I'm kind of lost for words about it. Cause like, I love it. It's super awesome.
Show it one more time for the people watching on video. You're at YouTube at Lakers Theory. But you could be listening on audio platforms. That's Spotify and Apple, whatever we are on, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you're subscribed to us there at Lakers Theory. Leave us a review if you want. You want to talk about Austin's ring, or you want to talk about just how awesome LeBron is. I will listen to all of those type of comments. Just make sure they're 5 stars as well. And follow us on Twitter at Lakers Theory as well. Yes, I wanted to make sure we mentioned that. I was going to be at the top of the show, but I felt like LeBron deserved the spotlight after tonight. If he would have just had 30 points, we probably would have led to the ring. But make sure you wear that for a couple other shows, and we'll keep mentioning it every now and then. Let's wrap this show up. We probably have to go to more sad news now. I think we have to mention Kobe Bryant. I believe you said before we got on air, tomorrow is the anniversary, so Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
January 26th of his death. I feel, it's just going to be a tough week in general for the Lakers organization, players, fans, all that stuff. Anything worth mentioning in this regard, just how tough it's going to be for you, Austin, this week?
I believe it was just the other day. I don't remember why, but I just like put on a Kobe Bryant documentary I found on like YouTube, and like it was really awesome, by the way. And I don't know. At the end, they just kind of broke down his like final game against the Jazz, I think it was, and like I was just bawling. Like I tried hiding it, but I was like bawling, and then I was like, damn, like this is getting me. Still, it's crazy. And then actually, the Cavs game had that little tribute to him, and I freaking started crying there too. I'm like, damn, I'm such a baby. But yeah, it's gonna be tough. Like as much as like I feel like the Lakers community is still pretty broken up about it, I think it fuels this team to this day. Like, I mean, that really drove this team last year, and I really think they still feed off of that, just that energy and just that just that be better Mamba mentality.
Are they going to wear Mamba jerseys this week at all? They didn't wear them tonight.
I have no idea. I have no idea where people find out what jerseys they're wearing before the night of. So I'm like, I don't know the jersey schedule at all.
Well, you just follow a journalist and they write about things like lame things like that. I'll give you a hint. We actually have a list, by the way. I created a Lakers list. I create a list for everything as a journalist myself. That's how I keep track of everything in order and in organized fashion. But I have a Lakers list on Twitter that our Twitter account is actually following at Lakers Theory. So if you just go to that and find the list from there, you can follow all the Lakers beat writers in a list platform. You don't even have to follow these beat writers. You still get their updates. Just follow that list. So if you're listening to the show, I would recommend following that list to get all your needs for Lakers info. It's actually a great place because a lot of people are very smart on that. I made sure to find all the smart Lakers people, which there's a lot of. So Lakers are 10-0 on the road, which is insane, and they're going to keep being on the road, as we mentioned in the last podcast. because this is a long-ass road trip. But next up is the 76ers on Wednesday, Pistons on Thursday. They get back-to-back there. And then the Celtics on Saturday. We will record a show after the Celtics game. I know I will have a KU game at some point, but I don't know my exact schedule, but I'm going to figure out a way to record a Lakers show talking about the Celtics game, but probably won't have a show until then. So I figure we should preview the last few games here, at least the 76ers game, but probably the Celtics game as well. Anything you're looking forward to for the rest of this trip?
Honestly, I would love to see them finish this trip undefeated and just keep that road win streak alive. Hey, that would be pretty amazing given the fact that I think they said 4-4 at home.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to kind of see them continue to, I don't know. It's hard to say play good basketball because I feel like for stretches in most of the games, it's just really terrible basketball. But
yeah,
I don't know. I want to see LeBron just continue to just dominate people. Like this is amazing. Like I never truly appreciated it until, really last year and now this year. But like it's amazing to watch him do this stuff. And like I really hope to see him continue to just dominate people.
It's crazy just the consistency of it because we've mentioned how we've even been frustrated with AD, but we've mentioned how we've been frustrated with every player. At some point, they've hit a slump, and it just feels like LeBron doesn't have bad games. Like he has bad games by his standards, but not bad basketball games. And that is honestly, like, again, just in general, don't take him for granted. Like any Lakers fans, like this is awesome to watch. But yeah, I think 76ers another obviously big man in the paint to worry about. In that game, anytime the Lakers play the Celtics, I look forward to that game as well. We have a Celtics friend who likes to talk a lot of trash, as most Celtics fans do. So can't wait until they beat the Celtics on Saturday. We can talk a lot of shit there to him. That is Jeff, by the way. Just in general, yeah, like you said, the road success. I don't know how much we can put into that. Like the idea, I think there is some truth to it, right? That you should theoretically have a better success rate on the road in any sports without fans. But in the NBA, I don't know how much that would have mattered. But 10-0 is stupid. Like they're probably going to drop one of these next 3 games, I would imagine. But I mean, we're talking about a 13-0 road trip team after they come back home. Like that's just crazy. So, any players other than LeBron worth mentioning as we close this thing out, or we should call this a wrap?
Just real quick, I've noticed THT hasn't been getting a lot of playing time, honestly, and I'm really curious why. Maybe it's out there and I just haven't found it because I don't typically get too in depth in Twitter and stuff. Yeah. But like, I'm really curious why he's not playing as much, and like, hopefully they can kind of get him back into the rotation a little bit.
So he played in the Bulls game, but he was a DNP tonight. Did not play at all tonight against the Cavs. But yeah, I remember the Bulls game he played, and then he didn't play a lot of minutes against the Bucks. But I thought at some point in this road trip he would get minutes. Like you're right, like especially one of these games, like Bulls and Cavs and stuff. Like you can give him an extended run. Caruso, I mean, 19 minutes only for him. I feel like he could play more. It's just this team is really deep. But yeah, not playing at all. I must have missed that as well. I don't remember if there was a decision of why he didn't play at all. Maybe there was, but yeah, I expected him to play a lot more in the road trip than he has. So that's a good call. We looking like right now he might not average, what was it, 15, 20 minutes a game? Is that what you said?
My prediction was 15, and just the other day I think I heard someone saying that was what he was averaging as of now, but we'll see. Like,
I got news for you: 0 minutes tonight is not good for that average.
I feel like he doesn't play, so that shouldn't count against his average. So.
I think you're right. Oh, that's dumb.
from a theoretical standpoint.
No, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, like I said, we will probably not record until after the Celtics game, but it will probably be Saturday night after the Celtics game. Maybe we'll do it live if the Lakers beat the Celtics, and just to say screw it, let's celebrate. We'll probably getting drunk, and it'll be good times. We'll be celebrating a perfect road trip because LeBron is our king, and the Lakers keep on winning. He's Austin Case. I'm Shane Jackson. This has been an episode of Lakers Theory, and see you next time, Lakers fans.